Welcome to Rica Subtest 3 online test preparation course presented by ricatest.com. In this section, you will learn how to determine students' independent, instructional, and frustration reading levels. Teachers determine students' reading levels using informal reading inventories, word recognition lists, graded reading passages, where an informal reading inventory is a running collection of assessments that acts as a portfolio of reading achievement for each individual student in order to indicate the student's reading level. The important note about informal reading inventories is that each student will have a unique portfolio of assessments based on their reading skill and ability. The next type of assessment used to determine students' reading levels is called a word recognition list, which provides the teacher with the child's sight word vocabulary knowledge and ability to decode words based on their sound to symbol relationship. Graded reading passages are also called running records, where the teacher chooses a passage and the student reads it aloud. During this time, the teacher is listening as the child reads aloud, and the teacher is keeping a detailed record of the student's performance, marking errors and looking for patterns of mistake. Now, let's go over a few key terms you can expect to see on your Rica test. Mis-cue analysis is the process of analyzing a student's oral reading to help identify a student's areas of strength and need so that the teacher can provide data-based instruction, knowing which skills are most important for that student to work on. For example, this student demonstrated difficulty differentiating simple present and simple past tense. Here we have grapheme error. This is an error caused by a child reading slowly on a word by word basis, which tells us that the student is relying too heavily on looking at the phonics to try and decode the word. The most common culprit in this case would be that the text that the student is reading is too challenging for the student. The next term related to this topic is semantic errors. This is a meaning related error, such as when a student reads cat for pet. Here, the writing is unrelated, but the meaning is related. In this case, it would mean that the student is using her correct comprehension of the story, but isn't using her phonics skills enough. The last term we'll cover here is called syntactic errors, which is the order or sequence of the language written or spoken. Reading errors in syntax might include, for example, apple my, instead of reading my apple. In order to determine if a reading passage is too easy, too difficult, or just right, the teacher will ask the student comprehension checking questions based on the story read during the running record assessment. These questions are supplied to the teacher for each story. The answers that the student gives will provide insight that helps the teacher determine if this text passage is the correct level for this student. Let's define the three different reading levels now. Books at a student's independent reading level can be read and understood without help from the teacher. A student's independent reading level is reached when the student reads a passage aloud with 95% or more words read correctly and answers 90% or more of the comprehension questions correctly. Next is the instructional reading level, and this is the level of material that the student can listen to and understand, and also read with direct support from the teacher. This level is lower than the independent reading level, and it's the level that the content area texts, such as science and social studies, should be at for the student. The instructional reading level is reached when a student correctly reads aloud 90% or more of the words and answers at least 60% of the comprehension questions correctly. A student's frustration reading level is reached when fluency and comprehension are both lost, even with help from the teacher. The frustration reading level is defined when a student cannot correctly read aloud at least 90% of the words or answer at least 60% of the comprehension questions. Quick to note, a teacher needs these two things to accurately determine a student's instructional and independent reading level. The teacher will calculate, first, the percentage of words that the child can correctly read aloud, and second, the percentage of comprehension questions the child correctly answers. Feeling nervous about taking your Rica test? Click the link in the description below, get full access to this Rica Test Prep course, and start feeling prepared for test day.